2022 has been quite the banner year for horror across all mediums, really, but the last year in particular has seen more quality horror TV shows come down the pike than any reasonable person can possibly keep track of. So, after poring over the lot of them, which ones truly rise to the top and which ones do you need to go out and see right now? Well, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com and these are the 10 best horror TV shows of 2022. Number 10. All of Us Are Dead. South Korean TV has certainly been having quite the moment as of late, and though it wasn't quite a Squid Game level phenomenon, Netflix's new zombie series, All of Us Are Dead, was nevertheless a well-deserved word-of-mouth hit. Focused on a group of high schoolers fighting to survive when a fleet of the undead ambushes their school, this is a singular mix of coming-of-age teen drama and gnarly gore-fest. Though the 12 episodes are each rather long, nobody's going to complain that the show lacks in action. Thrilling set pieces are abound in basically every single episode, with the unique spatial geography of the school setting helping create a zombie series like no other. The massive ensemble cast is uniformly excellent, and the series' expanded length ensures the audience is fully endeared to them, as is important when their numbers start dwindling. And to its credit, the show also sidesteps sentimental cliches and regularly dispenses with fan-favorite characters totally out of nowhere, ensuring that All of Us Is Dead is an effectively unpredictable ride. Number 9. The Midnight Club. Mike Flanagan has fast become a household name in the realm of small-screen horror, and with his sublime work on Netflix's The Haunting series and also the outstanding Midnight Mass, it's easy to see why. His latest, an adaptation of Christopher Pike's 1994 novel The Midnight Club, while also incorporating aspects of Pike's other works, continues Flanagan's impressive streak of telling seemingly familiar horror stories through a uniquely emotional, visceral lens. If not quite reaching the heights of his prior shows, that's hardly much of a put-down, because this is still a tenaciously conceived series that manages to be both entertainingly spooky and a genuinely heart-wrenching meditation on mortality. The young ensemble cast, composed primarily of lesser-known actors, are all fantastic, while the actors include a bevy of Flanagan regulars that you'll definitely have seen before, alongside the knowing presence of A Nightmare on Elm Street's own Heather Langenkamp. Unlike Flanagan's other TV forays, The Midnight Club was also envisioned to be a multi-volume series, though sadly Netflix announced that it had been cancelled earlier this month. Number 8. Chucky Season 2. Chucky's first season was one of last year's most pleasant surprises, and its recently concluded second showed an impressive growth and uptick in the ambition of its storytelling, delivering 8 episodes of hilarious, ultra-violent insanity. Chucky creator Don Mancini has impressively found yet more ways to enticingly weave the franchise's increasingly webbed lore into a satisfying and entertaining whole, all the while smashing the fourth wall to pieces, especially in the season's masterful mid-season murder mystery episode. Dripping with as much fan service as it does goopy gore, Chucky shows that it's still got a ton of creative juice left in the tank, by paying respect to the franchise's past while taking it to some fascinatingly twisted and unexpected new places. And if some fans might decry the slightly scaled-back focus on Chucky himself at times, it's only in order to give Jennifer Tilly the floor to deliver the performance of her career. Number 7. Interview with the Vampire. Who among us would have ever expected that a TV adaptation of Anne Rice's beloved gothic novel Interview with the Vampire would rank among the best reviewed shows, horror or not, of the entire year? Well, a smart, well-crafted improvement upon the entertaining 1994 film. This new take reimagines Louis de Pointe-de-Lac in the early 1900s as a closeted black man, rather than the white plantation owner from Rice's novel. This lends the series a wholly different and refreshing dynamic, even while the psychological core of the characters does largely remain the same. The show also explicitly depicts the relationship between Louis and Lestat that was disappointingly only implied in the 94 film. All in all, this is a smart, bold, and at times surprisingly amusing reimagining, which reworks the moldier aspects of the source material into a compellingly current commentary on race, sexuality, and consent. Beyond that, Jacob Anderson and Sam Reed are superb in the focal roles in what must surely be the most pleasantly surprising TV show of the entire year. Number 6. Stranger Things Season 4. While Stranger Things' fourth season, which dropped in 2 parts on Netflix this past summer, was rightly dinged for its bloated length, it did nevertheless pivot the series into a more overtly horrific mode. Considerably darker than what came before, Stranger Things 4 showed a thematic maturation to match its central character's growth, while introducing the series' most memorable villain to date in Vecna. Despite its excessiveness, this is a magnificent production from top to bottom, touting some of the strongest strongest visuals you'll see in any TV show this year, streaming or otherwise, while the cast uniformly knocks the emotionally fraught material out of the park. Though it's probably for the best that the show's upcoming 5th has been confirmed as its last, the 4th does a mostly stellar job of moving the pieces in place for an epic, game-changing finale. If the Duffer Brothers can rein in their indulgent tendencies just a little bit, they'll surely give the Hawkins gang the send-off they deserve with Season 5. Number 5. Archive 81. While you might be understandably reluctant to start watching a show that's already been cancelled, you'd only be missing out to deprive yourself of this thrilling 8-part loose adaptation of horror podcast Archive 81. The show follows Dan, an archivist tasked with restoring the work of a student filmmaker Melody, who in the 1990s was investigating an apartment that burned down. This is a show that definitely keeps the viewer on their toes throughout, and while hardly the most original horror series you're likely to watch this year, is nevertheless beautifully assembled and terrifically acted. For viewers who enjoy horror to a point but can't stomach a slew of jump scares and ultra-violent gore, then this is a solid compromise. A must-watch offering for true crime obsessives at the very least. Sadly though, as I mentioned, despite strong viewership figures out of the gate, it apparently wasn't enough for Netflix, who summarily cancelled Archive 81 barely 2 months after its premiere. Number 4. The Sandman. After literally more than 30 years of trying to get a live-action adaptation of his legendary comic made, Neil Gaiman finally pulled it off with some help from Netflix. And even with sky-high expectations for The Sandman, which is perhaps the streamer's single most ambitious adaptation to date, fans were hugely relieved that it turned out to be such a faithful and well-crafted piece of work. For starters, the fantasy supernatural horror series is an eye-wateringly looker of a show, with every penny of Netflix's reported $50 million budget per episode visible on the screen. It's a show that stays true to the spirit of the source material while lovingly recreating precise panels from the comic, yet also makes a few welcome contemporary adjustments as well. Yet the show wouldn't fully work without a shrewdly selected cast, and that it most certainly has. Given the many ways the Sandman could have failed when heading to the small screen, I mean, just look at Netflix's recent Cowboy Bebop adaptation, to call this a triumph is quite the understatement indeed. Number 3. Servant Season 3. If the M. Night Shyamalan produced horror series Servant might have lost a little of its initial luster, its recent 3rd season still delivered a consistently bewildering slew of twists and turns in what remains one of the most gorgeously shot and meticulously designed horror series of all time. Servant has, first and foremost, always been an exercise in moody, uneasy suspense, and that it most certainly maintained through Season 3, even if so much of the central mystery still remained firmly up in the air. Yet between the stellar performances of the cast and the snappy half-hour episodes, Servant remains as compulsively binge-worthy as ever in its 3rd volume. Plus, no spoilers, but it ends with a terrifically shocking cliffhanger setup for the upcoming 4th and final season, which people just cannot wait for. Number 2. Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. What self-respecting horror fan doesn't love an anthology series? And perhaps the single best in recent years is Guillermo del Toro's 8-part The Cabinet of Curiosities. Del Toro, who produces and presents the series while also co-writing 2 episodes, has gathered a stable of respected genre filmmakers for this work, such as Vincenzo Natali, David Pryor, Panos Cosmatos, and Jennifer Kent, to deliver their own bite-sized horror stories. Though not every story is a barnstorming home run, there's an extremely impressive consistency to the overall quality, and not a single dud amongst the bunch. The easy highlights among the exceptionally produced shorts are Shuli Pryor's Chilling the Autopsy and Cosmatos' mind-melding The Viewing. With an enviable ensemble cast, it's an embarrassment of riches from top to bottom. Number 1. 1899. The new Netflix series 1899 from the creators of the beloved Dark may understandably be too slow for some tastes, especially in an era where we have so many options at our disposal. But as an exercise in mesmerizing suspense, it has undeniably entrancing appeal. The show focuses on a group of European migrants taking a cruise ship to New York City when the ship's captain decides to investigate coordinates leading them to its missing sister ship, and things only get stranger from there. Like Dark, 1899 is purposefully ambiguous and at times downright confusing, but such a gorgeous, transfixing ride all the same that it's tough to look away from. It is a dense, demanding series packed with subplots and a massive cast of characters speaking various languages, and though it does admittedly remain to be seen if this intriguing mystery box can go the distance, this first season is an impressive, if challenging, start. So, that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Which of these shows did you vibe with, and are there any bangers that I missed off here? Let me know, and while you're down there, if you could, please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh. Thanks so much for checking out What Culture Horror, and I'll see you soon.